Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk. Following on from last week's session on youth, we are going to discuss a critical topic that affects the youth and the future of Hong Kong, that is, the education system. Specifically, we will explore whether Hong Kong's education system is fit for purpose. Joining us this evening are recent graduates of the Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education, DSE, who will share their experiences and insights. In this episode, we will focus on the challenges faced by non-Chinese speaking students and recent immigrants from the mainland in navigating the different culture, system, and emphasis in education. Let's welcome our guest. On the left is Manish Gurung, and on the right is Menxing Zhao. Welcome. So let's start the program by introducing yourself. Manish, maybe you can tell the viewers which schools you go to and where you're from originally.
Yes. First of all, thank you, Dr. Eugene, for inviting me to your show. I just graduated from CMA Church and Cox Secondary School, and my name is Gurung Manish, and I would like to share the experiences of a non-Chinese speaking student in Hong Kong.
Right, and Menxing?
Yeah, I'm actually graduate from CHKFA, a Chinchonha Secondary School, and yeah.
Right, so thank you for telling us. I'm sure it's your first program on television, and we really appreciate that the viewers will be able to listen to first-hand information from you. So, Gurung, do you mind sharing your results with us?
Yes. So, overall, I think my results are okay. However, there's definitely lots of room for improvement.
Right. Are you happy with it?
Yes, I'm happy with it.
Yep. Menxing?
To be honest, no. Since my DSA result is insufficient to let me get into my dream school.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so because I only get 4 in English. Yeah. But I would say it's still a great experience to having received this kind of fate sentence or something. Yeah.
Right, when you said that you get a 4 in English, does it mean you need to get a 5 or 5-star to get into the course you want to do?
Yeah, I need to get a 5 to get into the law programs of Hong Kong
So
school.
you'll be interested to pursue a career in law?
Yeah.
So what would you do about that?
I would, because I would going to study in a law school in mainland China in the future, and I'm just like planning to study the JD programs in Hong Kong in the future to both study the civil law and common law system. Yeah.
Right. Mentioning, although I'm not a legal professional, but I've got many friends and family who are lawyers, and there are many ways to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
So, Gurung, you are quite happy with the results.
Yes.
Is there any particular subject that you find difficulty in during your preparation for the exams?
Yes, it has to be maths.
Really?
Yes, as I set a higher standard for myself in maths since I want to pursue accounting, and a higher math grade is required for it.
Mm-hmm.
However, like my maths was not up to my expectations, so.
Right, but do you think you'll be able to get into the profession you want to get into?
Maybe.
Right, okay. So I understand you're from a non-Chinese speaking school,
Yes.
and also you're from Nepal, right?
Yes.
So have you found that studying in a local school some sort of a challenge? Do they give you enough support?
Yes, I do think it's quite a challenge, especially when I have to communicate with a Chinese student or a local. However, my school did provide me with a lot of support, and I think the biggest support was the environment of my school. It focuses a lot on multiculturalism, which I think it's very important in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And we were allowed to freely exchange our cultures and learn more about each other.
Right, you told me before the show that actually you were born in Hong Kong.
Yes.
So you have brought up in Hong Kong, but do you still find a difference in culture?
Yes, I do. As I was born in Hong Kong, it wasn't too much of a challenge adjusting to the culture of Hong Kong. However, when I was growing up, I did watch mostly I consumed English medium content, and I was around more people of my background and less Chinese and locals. So learning the Chinese language was definitely more of a challenge than it should have been.
But if I'd like you to sort of elaborate more on the language barrier or cultural differences on non-Chinese speaking students, what are the most common problems that they will encounter in the school that you can observe?
The most common problem I encounter is, since the classes are separated into the Chinese teaching and the English teaching, there might not be that much motivation and incentive for English speaking and Chinese speaking students to really become friends,
right,
and get to know more about each other.
Right, so maybe there's something that the school can do a little bit more on that
Yes.
end. And Menching, you told me earlier that actually you studied in Guangdong for many years until 5-6 years ago. So what's the difference that you find when you're coming back to study in Hong Kong? Would you call that kind of a culture shock? Because although we're both Chinese, I'm sure the system is different.
I would describe, because we have lots of classifications of culture. We have lifestyle. So in the perspective of lifestyle, Guangdong's lifestyle is actually similar to Hong Kong. Our taste is quite similar. But I would say the culture of educations between the difference between Hong Kong and Guangdong is quite big, because in mainland, the color of Confucius should be deeper than Hong Kong. And for Hong Kong's education, I may describe it as well balanced, since like the competitions in Hong Kong is not that exaggerated. And at the same time, most of the school in Hong Kong will offer a variety of opportunity to students to explore more of their possibility.
Right. You know, I'm sure the viewers is very surprised when they hear that. They're saying that Hong Kong is less pressure, because I'm sure everybody will see Hong Kong education system. They call it using Peking duck, meaning the stuffing education for the student. And we have a very emphasis on rote learning and also exam-oriented teaching methods. So do you think if we follow along that line, is that going to affect the students' teaching experience? What do you think? The Hong Kong style?
I think that it won't affect students that much, as recently the Hong Kong government has promoted the use of STEM education, and Hong Kong students are fairly creative, in my opinion, as they take up lots of other activities such as arts and music, and most of them play an instrument from extra tutorial classes.
Right, that sounds very encouraging. Mentioning another area people often mentioned is whatever you learn in school isn't going to be able to apply in your practical life. So do you think whatever you've been taught is too theoretical?
Not that, since like I would describe the educational style of Hong Kong as flexible. Like our teacher will, they are really good at to use some real life example to help us understand some theoretical concepts. So I do think that what we learned in textbook can be used in our real life practically. Yeah.
Right. Actually, I was going to ask you whether you feel the students in Hong Kong having more pressure and more competitive. But since you have already mentioned, looks like in mainland there's more pressure, more competitive. So in that angle, what would you say are the strengths of Hong Kong students, and how would you suggest to the government to release all our strengths out so that they can do even better?
Firstly, to talk about the strength of Hong Kong students, because we all know that Hong Kong is a city with Chinese roots and Western foliage. So I think the advantage of Hong Kong students is that we own the characteristic of both culture together. Like Confucius teach us politeness, humanity, and morality, and the modern metropolis teach us efficiency, effectiveness, and individualism. So yeah, we are smart but humble, we are diligent but efficient. Yeah.
So everything's perfect in Hong Kong?
Not that.
And I'm going to ask you about the non-Chinese speaking school. You mentioned that more effort should be put so that the the Chinese classes and the English classes can be grouped together. Anything else can you think of to improve your students' learning experience?
Yes. So with my experience, I found that most of my classmates and relatives, when they're studying here in Hong Kong, their main goal is to study overseas eventually, such as in the UK or Australia. So they don't really have that much purpose they think that learning Chinese isn't as important for them. So I think something really helpful for them would be to teach more about the Chinese history in schools and really push them to learn more about why they should learn Chinese and maybe feel more connected with the culture.
But do you think, I'm sure you're having a very packed curriculum. Do you think there's still time for the non-Chinese speaking students to learn more of the Chinese background, history, etc.?
Yes, I think there is. As we can choose our electives, maybe it can also be implied and installed as an elective that we can choose to learn by our own.
Right, a good idea. So let's take a short break now, but viewers, we will be right back. Welcome back. We have been exploring the question, is Hong Kong's education system fit for purpose? And we are doing that with recent graduates of the Hong Kong DSE examination. We have Manish Gurung and Manxing Zhou with us this evening, who have been sharing with us their results from the DSE and the challenges they have faced. So in the first part, Manxing, you have spoken very clearly that you felt that Hong Kong students are quite all-rounded. They're having the advantage of having the East and the West culture. And Manish, you told us that in non-Chinese speaking schools, it'd be much better if there are more encouragement for the Chinese and English speaking students to group together more and to take more electives so that they know more about Hong Kong. So let's move on to another thing that I'm sure is going to interest our viewers is about your future plans. So Manish, what do you want to pursue after the DSE?
I want to pursue a degree in accounting as I have always wanted to be working in a business or maybe start up my own. And I've always had a business mindset and I wanted to work for myself. And I think that learning accounting and pursuing a career in Hong Kong is very viable, as Hong Kong is a global financial hub. It's very closely connected with the world, and it also receives a lot of support from the mainland, the central government. As I still remember in my LS lesson, I learned about the Belt and Road Initiative and the 14 5-year plan, and all of this helps Hong Kong a lot, especially in the accounting industry. And I'm very confident that I can find a lot of opportunities to work not only in Hong Kong, but also overseas or in China if I do some accounting.
Mentioning yourself?
I want to study law in the future, and actually the origin of it is because of a TV series called An Assisting Author, which portrays a group of ambitious law graduates. They're competing for an official author of a famous law firm. And their passion ignited my interest in law and also helped me to ensure my future career aspiration. And I further start to explore more about law, and I joined debates and also some moot court summer school. And the more I know about this industry, the stronger the desire I want to study in law, because I love exploring human nature. I love those controversial cases which inspired a lot of interesting, excellent debates. So yeah, and that would be really fascinating if I can finally turn my interests into my career.
You mentioned you get inspired by a TV series.
Yeah.
Is it because the lifestyle they go after work, they go to pubs, they drive nice cars? Is it what attracts you?
No. To be honest, at that TV series, most of the that's called reality show instead of TV series, because they are real law graduates. They work in a real law firm, and they work very hard. The whole duration it's pretty tough, but I can feel their patience, they're united in this duration. So yeah, I really love this kind of atmosphere.
You also mentioned that there's a high chance you will go back to the law school on the mainland to learn the civil law compared to the common law we have in Hong Kong. So it looks like you're very determined. So what will be your plan after that? Do you want to come back to Hong Kong to do maybe a postgraduate degree maybe?
Yeah, I would definitely come back to Hong Kong for a JD program because I want to study both civil law and we may call ocean law, or common law, because nowadays the interaction between mainland and Hong Kong has become more and more like connected, So it would be really beneficial if I actually own the knowledge of these two law systems.
Right, so since both of you are now in the Straight Talk program, and as you know, we always want a direct answer, an honest answer from you, and hopefully I'm sure the viewers are looking forward to me to asking you this, that some people say that the social ladder in Hong Kong have been broken. That means it's very difficult for the one who comes from a lower socio-economic class to work hard and climb to the middle and higher social status. As a result, the ones who are rich will become richer, and the ones who are poor will remain poor. So do you agree to that statement, and why?
Yes, to a certain extent, I do agree with this claim. I think it's very hard for the middle class, even if they are the upper middle class. I think there's a huge gap between that and the upper class of Hong Kong, as the housing and everything, the living expenses are just astronomically high once you get to that upper class. And however, I do think that it's very possible to to earn a living in Hong Kong and have a stable life here in Hong Kong if you just work hard enough and you put all of your effort into your work.
Menxing?
So I also agree with this statement because the higher position is now dominated by more mature person, because one same job, a mature person can always done better than a youngster. So I would say this kind of trend seems irreversible, but as youngster we can find out our own unique benefits or advantage. We are one of the digital natives. We know internet a lot, so we can try to explore more about this field, to let ourselves to maybe develop some side job about internet, like KOL or something like that. That may be the chance for us to achieve a rise in social status.
Right. So do you think our system will promote the students of your time to be more creative and even have what we call critical thinking? Is it what's being promoted at your school?
Yes, in my school there is a STEM club and STEM team, so I think that the STEM education can help us be more creative, and it opens up more opportunities such as technology, and it allows us to be more creative.
Right. Menxing, you also mentioned that this generation is more more savvy in terms of all the internet and all that. So how can our education system incorporate or better the technology and digital literacy skills into the system so that we will prepare our students better for the modern world?
I would say some skills like cutting or other technological skill can be introduced in high school course. Since nowadays our class designed only mostly focus on some academic subjects, but I do think that those skills is really crucial for us in nowadays. So if this kind of skills is taught in high school, our student can find their interests, their habits in internet field or in technological field in the early age. They can further pursue it in university life.
Right. Manish, I'm going to ask you, since I'm sure the viewers will by now know that you are a man of good plans and you know what you want to do. You will be pursuing your accounting career. What else will you do to better equip yourself so that you will be able to making sure yourself going in a positive direction?
I think I would like to join some internships to get used to the working environment of accounting, as well as get some connections and learn more about the experience. And also, my first goal, my short-term goal after graduating is to work in one of the big 4 firms, and I think that will help me a lot in my accounting career.
Mention yourself?
My future plans, my short-term future plan should be enhance my English ability, since English is really crucial in law study. And also, as I have mentioned, nowadays we should catch some opportunity in internet. So I'm also planning to learn some skills like cutting and also music production to enrich or to let myself become a more all-rounded person. Yeah.
Right, Manager, I'm going to give you the last question. I know the Secretary for Education must be watching the show. Being from a non-Chinese speaking student population, what will you say to the Secretary? How would you think the way forward for Hong Kong so that all non-Chinese speaking students will be doing better and faring better in their career?
I think that you really need, it really needs to be emphasized that you can live here in Hong Kong and be kind of a local one day, instead of feeling like you're an outcast or that you have to force yourself to talk to the locals or become friends with them. And I know that many of them do eventually want to escape sort of to another country like the UK, as they find that obviously getting a job is much easier, as they can only use English.
Right.
And they don't have to put as much effort into Chinese.
Right. Menxing?
I may suggest to promote some, like teachers should, or school should play a role to prevent some discrimination happen in school to maybe students who say Mandarin, yeah. And also, even like nowadays, there is already a lot of opportunity provided to a lot of new immigrants to help them adapt the culture and also the environment in Hong Kong rapidly. But I still think that it can be more to let them adapt this kind of.
Right. Thank you, Manish and Menxing, for sharing your experiences with us. Your insights have been valuable and will enable our viewers to make their own judgment as to whether the Hong Kong education system is fit for purpose and has been able to cater for students from diverse backgrounds. Have a great evening, and please join us again next week to hear from 2 other DSE graduates on this important topic. Good night.